what a lovely day it is today. Absolutely gorgeous. And it's December and it's time for a tour. So we're going to start with Polytunnel, and not a lot has changed in here, to be honest, and so I'm just going to go through really quickly. Carrots looking great. Steve from Digwell Green Fingers suggested don't thin the carrots yet. I was thinking, well, it's a good time to thin them, but he suggested thinning them in early spring and getting little carrots. So yeah, I think I'm going to do that. Got loads of carrots here, lots of thinning to do though. And lettuce beds, they're okay. These are some of the test lettuces. Well, that bed was one of the test lettuce beds. They didn't pass the test basically, so I've just popped in these little Navaras, so they should be ready in springtime, early spring, and I'll actually harvest those as full lettuces because this bed's all been replanted in early spring. Spinach is doing really nice. I'm very pleased with that. All my little seedlings coming along okay. I did a separate video about those. Early onions down here, spring onions in here, parsley, and supposedly early garlic. It's starting to make an appearance, but it's definitely not early at the moment. And some carrots in containers. Some more carrots in containers here. They're doing okay. I'm pretty pleased with them. Good size. And so we just keep those basically in here until we need them, which will be about March time, and then hopefully we'll have our early carrots in April. Just taking some cuttings off the Dorbanton's perennial kale. We've got loads of the perennial kale cuttings here, and they're all rooted really nicely and growing well. I actually need all these, so I don't give them away again until spring. Given quite a few away over the last month. I hate the plot when it's all covered in plastic like this, but it doesn't look quite so bad when it's all opened up. So let's take a look round. So this is a new bed that I put in. It was gooseberries. We can't afford to have quite so many gooseberries now. We've got a bit less space. So this is now purple sprouting broccoli. And I actually dug all these plants up. They were on Jennie's plot and moved them here. And they transplanted really well. I was quite impressed. And down here I've got some cauliflowers and some more purple sprouting broccoli, and the cauliflowers are just starting to come actually. They were a bit late because they were transplanted as well, but quite a little bonus actually. I wasn't really expecting to get anything from them. So then under here I've got field beans and spinach, and then field beans and spinach. I can just show you some of the field beans here. They're just starting to come now. We don't need them right now because we've got loads of true spinach. That's what's left of my gooseberries. That's enough now for us. And then down here, I think this is garlic and field beans, onions and field beans, more onions, and then garlic and field beans, more onions and field beans, loads and loads of onions. And the reason is that basically I've just got space to fill, and I know that I can harvest these onions before I need the bed for squash and sweet corn. So yeah, why not just stick them in? And then more onions down here. And it's worth noting that these overwintered onions, they don't keep very well, so we'll have our main crops of course in August, which means all of these onions will be progressively harvested between May and August, and obviously some of them will be quite small. So here we've got plenty of carrots. These are winter carrots. A few of these have got carrot fly, mainly that bed there, so they're the ones that we're using first. So then we've got one of the perennial beds, and this is strawberries interplanted with trees. I think it's apple, cherry, apple, I think. And then, yeah, strawberries, and then interplanted with elephant garlic. That's just starting to make an appearance. And then spinach. And then this is my stock plant. So this will be sacrificed for perennial kale cuttings in spring. So I'll have quite a lot of those. And I do give a few of them away, but don't ask at the moment. Ask when I tell people in spring. And I'll have about, I don't know, half a dozen or so that I'll send out to a few lucky people. And then underneath here, we've got lettuces. And as you go around on this tour, you'll think, wow, we've got a lot of lettuce, but actually we've just got enough now. Only just enough, and then probably we'll have less people to feed as we head further into winter. Right now, we're only feeding, I think, 14 people. And for lettuces, I think we'll be down to just Debbie and I by the time we get to January, February. And then we've got some spinach. We're just starting harvesting this bed. And then this one we won't harvest until the spring. So this is my main winter carrot bed. And those look really good. And those look pretty grotty. But they're the coloured carrots, so the yellow and the purples and all of that. And they do seem to die back a bit more than just the traditional orange ones. And I've kept the nets on here basically since I thinned them. And so I don't know what they're like, so I'm quite keen to take a look. So I'm going to pick the first one in the bed. Ah, that is what I'm looking for. Not a sign of carrot fly. This is the really grotty one, so I'm going to pick a few of those. Let's see. Maybe pick another one. So these are the yellow carrots. Let's see if I can find something else. Maybe a purple one, I don't know. Another yellow one. They're all yellow. I don't mind yellow carrots, but I was hoping for a bit more colour. What about that one? Well, it's purple, but it's not a very impressive specimen. Anyway, I'm not going to dig all these up because these are my winter carrots. So this bed was turnips with a bit of herbostella. To be honest, the turnips were fantastic. The herbostella was pretty rubbish. We didn't like it really. And there are some YouTube channels absolutely raving about it, but unfortunately it's not for us. So anyway, in here we've now got some Novara. Again, great little crop for spring. And down there, still hanging in there, we've got pak choi and tatsoi. And then another lettuce bed with spring onions. And finally, we've got spring onions. We've been without them for about 3 weeks. It's been quite a trauma. We pretty much eat them every day. And obviously we don't buy anything from the shops. So yeah, we were just without them for a few weeks. So this is one of the overwintering chard beds. I cut it right back and it's starting to regrow, but obviously there's still something in here eating, probably some caterpillars or something. I'll have to have a rummage around, try and find out, but it's starting to regrow reasonably well. So this is my asparagus bed. These posts I just put in a couple of days ago, and they are not just to support the cold frame lid. They are for the asparagus because it grows so high and it just flops over everywhere. It's very windy here and it's always getting blown over and broken. So I've put these big support posts in. I can wrap support ropes around this outside now, and then hopefully the asparagus bed will be well contained. More spinach. That's going to be harvested tomorrow. we're only taking 1, maybe 2 leaves off each week, and it's just about keeping up with us in growth at the moment. By far my favourite bed, all my baby kales. We're not really harvesting these at the moment because these are for spring, but we've got plenty of kale. But if we really needed to, we could take a few leaves, but right now it's just looking pretty. So I've got little turnips in here growing. I've never tried overwintering turnips for an early spring harvest in the same way I'm doing with carrots, but I thought I'd give it a go. They just look really lovely in here as well, and of course they're not bothering each other. Quite happy to share the bed with the kales. So this is the early purple. We've been harvesting this now for about 2 months, and we're still getting a few bits and pieces off it, but it's not, to be honest, it's not the most fantastic yield for the space. So that's the last of my summer kale beds, and I'm actually taking all that out in a few weeks' time, and I'm transplanting some of the big collet plants that are on Jennie's plot, because we're stopping harvesting on that plot at the end of the year, but obviously we can take the plants that we've planted, so I'll probably take 4 big collet plants and put them in there and hope that they hang on for another month, 6 weeks or something like that. It would be nice to still have collets. We have got 5 plants I think in the back garden as well, and there's a few little spring cabbages, not looking particularly great, and then another nice looking lettuce bed, and another one there, and you can see we've lost a plant there. So this is our main winter kale bed. So the other one you just saw was the spring one, and this is looking pretty good. I'm quite happy with this. I'm not harvesting very much off this at the moment because we've still got the remains of our autumn planted kale beds to harvest, and they're all at home. Second early strawberries. There's no real need to have this net on, it's just being stored there. I did originally put it there because when I transplanted these it was really hot, so I just put it on to provide a little bit of shade, and I've just left it. But that's the second early strawberries, and over here are the first early strawberries, and these will be going in the Polytunnel in February. And then underneath here is my oca in containers, parsnips, spring cabbages, a few lettuces for spring, carrots. These are my first early carrots for April, then a little chard bed and a few more lettuces, and then this bed is going to be early baking potatoes, and that one as well, and they'll get planted out in April. So I've moved all my Christmas potatoes, new potatoes, salad potatoes, whatever you want to call them, into the greenhouse, just so that the compost isn't quite so sodden. And we've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 more tubs of these at home. Those will last us until the end of the year, and then these are the ones that we eat until April, and then we switch over to the new potatoes that we grow in containers in the Polytunnel. Still got plenty of squashes in here. So that's it. All my water storage is full. Got all those containers down there and all these containers down here. So I'm in pretty good shape. Hopefully that will last me until May, and after that we start to rely on tap water again. Well, to the end of May. So there we go. I'm pretty pleased with the way things are at. There's a few issues, a few niggles, there always are. When you're growing over winter, it's just not a perfect environment. Everything's going to tick over now, so nothing's going to grow actively everything that's grown will just stay alive and be harvested, very gently, very slowly through until early February. Then we'll see growth really start to pick up, and obviously by March everything is in absolute abundance, and at that point in time we'll have way too much of lots of things. So we'll definitely have way too much spinach, way too much salad, things like that. So we'll start clearing the beds really quickly when we get into sort of late February, March time, or interplanting the beds, so that we've got an abundance of food in the hungry gap. Anyway, my name's Steve, this is the Seaside Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.